It started like any other Hot Topic segment on The View, coffee cup steaming, the panel leaning in, and Whoopi Goldberg ready to stir the pot. But just minutes into Monday's broadcast, Goldberg let loose a fiery critique of Republican lawmakers that wasn't just passionate, it was so pointed. The censors had to jump in mid sentence. You gotta show up, she snapped, referring to GOP members skipping public town halls. You can't keep ducking and dodging. Have some bleep. The audience gasped. The co hosts blinked. Social media lit up like a pinball machine. Whoopi, unfazed, kept rolling. She just compared Republicans' reticence with a Denver rally, where Bernie Sanders and Alexandria Ocasio Cortez drew an electric standing room only crowd. That's what democracy looks like, she said. And you're hiding? Please. The censored word, cajones, wasn't exactly scandalous in everyday conversation, but on live network TV, it was enough to trigger the red button. Still, the message was clear. Goldberg was done playing nice. And this wasn't just a political critique, it was a cultural shot across the bow. Whoopi wasn't just calling out absent representatives. She was taking a torch to what she saw as cowardice wrapped in privilege. Her words, bleeped or not, echoed far beyond the studio walls. As the cameras kept rolling, the air in the studio thickened, part tension, part adrenaline. Joy Behar offered a knowing smirk. Sunny Houston raised an eyebrow, and Sarah Haynes glanced toward the audience, as if to say, did she really just say that on air? Whoopi, meanwhile, sat back in her chair, with the calm of someone who knew exactly what she'd ignited. Within minutes, the moment was trending. Supporters flooded social media, praising Whoopi for saying what needed to be said. Hashtags like Whoopi was right and call them out popped up across X and TikTok. Fans posted memes of Whoopi in sunglasses, with captions like ducking and dodging since 2020, not on Whoopi's watch, but the backlash came just as fast and just as loud. Critics, especially conservative pundits, decried the segment as yet another example of Hollywood elitism and daytime TV overstepping its bounds. One prominent commentator called it an unhinged rant, dressed up as civic concern, while others demanded ABC issue a formal apology. Right-leaning news outlets ran headlines accusing Goldberg of vulgarity, bias, and disrespecting public servants. The network? Silent, for now. No retraction, no walkback, no comment. And through it all, Whoopi didn't blink. In fact, on the next day's broadcast, she casually sipped her tea and offered a cryptic remark. Sometimes you say what you say, and let the people decide what they heard. That was all, no apology, just a raised brow and a mischievous glint in her eye. Because for Whoopi Goldberg, the conversation wasn't about one censored word. It was about who gets to speak boldly and who gets silenced. And in that studio, at that table, her voice rang loud and clear, even when the network tried to mute it. By the time Whoopi Goldberg's censored remark made its way around the internet, conservatives had already seen this movie before, and they weren't buying tickets. To many Republican viewers, this wasn't a bold moment of truth-telling. It was yet another example of a Hollywood liberal using a national platform to insult and demean anyone who disagrees with her. And the term cajones, censored or not, the intention was loud and clear: paint Republicans as cowards, unwilling to face their constituents. But let's be honest. There's a difference between skipping a media trap and avoiding responsibility. Many GOP lawmakers are engaging with voters in town halls, online forums, and policy-focused discussions, not staged rallies with pre-selected questions and a cheering section. Goldberg's comments didn't sit well because they didn't aim to start a dialogue. They aimed to score a hit. And this kind of rhetoric doesn't just target politicians. It lumps in the millions of Americans who voted for them, caricaturing them as weak or disengaged. That's not political commentary. It's partisan performance. Conservative commentators were quick to point out the double standard. Had a Republican host made a similar remark about Democrats, the outrage would have been swift and merciless. ABC might have rushed out a statement, advertisers would have faced pressure, and cancellation calls would have followed. But because it came from Whoopi, there's barely a ripple from the network. And yet, for all the media noise, many Republicans weren't shocked. Disappointed, yes, but not surprised. They've come to expect this kind of grandstanding from The View, a show that increasingly feels like an echo chamber for progressive views, despite its claim to offer a range of opinions. Still, the moment mattered, not because it was profound, but because it was revealing. It showed how quick some in the mainstream media are to insult rather than engage, to mock rather than understand. So if Whoopi's goal was to light a fire, she succeeded, but not the kind she might have hoped for. Instead of sparking meaningful conversation, she deepened a divide. And for viewers hoping for real dialogue across the aisle, it was just more of the same. A moment of opportunity wasted on a punchline. From a Republican point of view, The View has stopped pretending to be a space for balanced conversation. Once a show that prided itself on featuring a variety of perspectives, it's become increasingly clear that any conservative voice at the table is either outnumbered, outshouted, or subtly undermined. And this latest dust-up with Whoopi Goldberg only reinforces that reality. Her jab, censored or not, wasn't just a criticism of politicians avoiding town halls. It was a loaded insult, wrapped in sarcasm, aimed squarely at Republicans as a whole. And what did her co-hosts do? Not much. No one pushed back. No one questioned the tone. There was no effort to acknowledge that Republican lawmakers, like their Democrat counterparts, also engage with constituents, just not always in the performative, media-friendly ways that liberal commentators seem to value. Even more telling, the silence from ABC. No statement, no clarification, no apology to viewers who might be tired of hearing half the country regularly mocked on national television. Had the roles been reversed, if a conservative host had said something equally crass about a progressive group, you can bet the network would have issued a press release within the hour. But that's the pattern. When someone on the left takes a swing at Republicans, it's chalked up as speaking truth to power. When someone on the right dares to push back, it's labeled dangerous rhetoric. That double standard is why so many conservatives have stopped taking shows like The View seriously. It's not that they can't handle disagreement. It's that they know a stacked deck when they see one. At the end of the day, what Goldberg said wasn't brave. It was easy. She was surrounded by like-minded people, speaking to a like-minded audience, with zero risk of losing her seat at the table. And that's the real issue. Not just what was said, but where and how comfortably. If The View really wants to be a place for honest conversation, it needs to start treating different viewpoints with actual respect, not just as props for ratings. Otherwise, it's not a platform, it's a performance. Whoopi Goldberg's comment wasn't a courageous stand. It was a calculated shot fired from friendly territory. On a show that claims to embrace diverse viewpoints, Republicans were once again reduced to a punchline. No pushback, no balance, just more applause for the same tired narrative. This moment highlighted a broader issue, the growing gap between what The View says it is, a platform for open conversation, and what it increasingly appears to be, a stage for partisan potshots. When criticism only flows one way, the conversation loses credibility. Viewers who value honest, respectful debate, regardless of political party, deserve better. Like if you're ready for fair, honest coverage. Subscribe for more sharp, no-spin analysis that tells the full story.